I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. I'll ask tonight if the board has any opening public comment. Seeing none or hearing none. Do we have any announcements?
Nope.
No announcements. I will make it brief that we are still looking for people for the Personnel Committee and the Public Access Cable Committee. So again, in the spirit of the giving holiday, how about give some of your time to the town for these boards? I've tried to work that in. Talent Bank forms can be found at the town clerk's office at Town Hall or online at lunenburgma.gov. Okay, do I have any public comment from the public? Would you? Please.
I don't know if this is the right time to do it. I know you have comments at the end of the meeting.
We have both. You can use them at either time, at the beginning or the end, whichever is your preference.
I could probably wait till the end.
Okay.
Take care of it.
At 7 p.m., we have an appointment with Shelley McKay as our treasurer collector, and she's going to review and award bond anticipation notes.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to ask for your vote to approve the borrowing of a short-term bond anticipation note for the feasibility study in the amount of $220,000. On November 25th, the bid process began, and on December 4th, I was notified that 5 bids were received. I awarded the bid to Century Bank, who had the lowest interest rate of 0.50%. The note will be due on May 15th of 2014, and the total interest paid will be $452.22. So once I receive your vote, I do have 3 forms that need to be signed by the board.
And of course, the feasibility study was adopted by town meeting.
Correct, on May 12th, article number 11.
Thank you. So, do I have a motion from the board or any questions for Ms. McKay?
I move that we approve the bond anticipation note of 50% as provided.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? So you have forms for us.
I do. There's a certificate of town clerk, the certificate of the note, and the certificate and covenant as to tax exempt status. And there are 3 copies of that one.
Point that time.
Sorry.
Shrinking chair.
Hydraulic gravity. I'm not going there.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, current business, review ballot question.
So I have made a copy of the warrant, and the warrant contains both the articles and the ballot question. There are some copies up at the podium if anybody in the audience is interested in looking at the warrant. And the ballot question is on page 3 of the warrant. We did modify it somewhat based on the comments we received both by the MSBA and bond counsel. And the question is, shall the town of Lunenburg be allowed to exempt from the from the provisions of Proposition 2 1/2, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bonds issued in order to construct a new Lunenburg Middle High School designed for approximately 820 students in grades 6 through 12 to be located at 1079 Massachusetts Avenue, Lunenburg, Mass. 01462. So what we had included previously that was eliminated was the parcel ID number. We also had included the square footage, and we eliminated that based on feedback from the MSBA and bond counsel. There was a question asked last week about whether or not we include the cost of the project, and that is not included. It's not included for any debt exemption. And we had some discussion about whether not including it was specific to the MSBA guidelines. It's not. It's specific to state law that with any debt exemption, you're just asking for permission to raise whatever amounts are necessary to pay for the project.
And the amount will be established at town meeting,
Yes.
and it will be discussed vigorously. There'll be information, we're going to mail in, well, we won't mail anything with this, but there'll be information mailed with the town meeting warrant. There's information available as to the dollar amount, and again, town meeting will set the dollar amount.
I spoke with the superintendent earlier because we've been having some discussion about what is going in the warrant. And this is the sum total of the warrant. There is going to, the flyer that has been produced is going to be mailed out individually by the PAC. And it's not going in this warrant because it's not something that could go in the warrant.
Okay.
And that's not the PAC as in the Public Access
Right.
Committee.
I was
That's
gonna,
the
thank you.
PAC,
Yes,
sorry.
Public Action, Political Action Committee. So, yes, thank you. I was thinking the same thing. So do I have any other questions about the ballot question? Do we need motions on these?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I entertain a motion pertaining to the ballot question as read by the town manager and printed on the sample warrant in front of us all.
I would move that we approve the ballot question as printed.
Have a second.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None.
And there are 5 copies of the ballot warrant to be signed.
Okay, review warrant articles on the special town meeting warrant.
So I will go over the changes from last week. On the last page, as you requested, we have included the last day to register to vote for the election and the last day to register to vote for special town meeting. And then in terms of the articles, Article 1 is the school building project article, and it has been amended in the same manner as the ballot question, so we've taken out the parcel ID and the reference to a particular number of square feet in the project. Both the MSBA and bond counsel has approved the wording of this article. In terms of the temporary moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers. The planning board submitted 2 separate articles. Town council reviewed both of the articles and provided an opinion that only one of the articles was necessary, which was the second article regarding the moratorium. And the reason town council opined in that manner is because the first article was just to amend the definition section of the current zoning bylaw to include a definition of a medical marijuana treatment center. That same definition is already included in the moratorium article, and by approving the moratorium, it in effect already, it will amend the current zoning to include that definition in the definition section.
Any questions about the warrant?
My only question was the definition put in the event that the moratorium did not pass? They probably don't need a definition if the moratorium didn't pass. I don't know why they came up with 2 articles. I didn't know if...
I'm not sure why they did
Okay.
either.
Well, that's, I mean, I thought about the mechanics of it last week, and that's what I suggested, is that that's the 2 separate things. Defining it and then the moratorium are 2 separate things, and certainly one could pass without the other. But
Okay. And the only other question was whether our recommendation is going to show up under Article 1? The selectmen recommend?
yes.
Oh,
recommend
yes,
approval?
I can do that, and I can do that easy enough if you can hang around for 5 minutes
Sure.
after the meeting.
And Article 2, we're going to wait for the presentation, correct? Is that
That's correct, yes.
recommendation at town meeting? Okay. So with those 2 changes, not changes, but with the addition of the recommendations in here, do I have a motion for the warrant?
I'd move to approve the warrant as printed.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Everybody's favorite section, the review and approval of annual business licenses.
So before we do that, I just wanted to make you aware that the ABCC approved the retail wine and malt beverage license for Honey Farms. You had previously approved that, but the ABCC approved on December 5th. So I do have that for you to sign, and this is for calendar year 2013, and they are going to pick up their license for the remainder of this month. And then I also have their application for 2014 for you to sign. You're not signing the approval for 14, you're just signing their application for a license for 14. The rest of the alcohol licenses will be on the agenda next week. There's a more extensive process that we go through for renewal of those licenses because we have inspections that are done by the fire department and the building inspector. All of those inspections have been completed. As of today, there are a couple of places that have a couple of items that they need to fix, which they will do, and we're still working on payment of some past due taxes or fees with a couple as well. So what we have ready this evening, we have a base license for Lakeview Golf Driving Range at 21 Lakeside Avenue. This is the one that was on a more like a spring renewal, and we've put them to an annual renewal.
Done
I think by group, we'll do them
So
by.
this, okay,
that's-
so for expediting this, in case somebody has a question, then if somebody would quickly make a motion, unless somebody wants to discuss any particular one. So on the base license,
A group of 1.
I move we approve the base license for Lakeview.
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
So then the next group is our common victualler licenses. And some of these, I'll pass down what we have. We have a number of establishments that have several different licenses. So with the common vic, we have some that also have alcoholic beverages licenses. You won't see those common vics in here. But essentially, these are ones, there may be some minor paperwork that we are waiting for, but nobody in this group owes any taxes or fees or anything like that. So for approval this evening, Lakeview Club doing business as 449 Corporation. American Graffiti at 113 Summer Street. Conrad's at 835 Mass Ave. Baker's Whalum Variety at 423 Electric Ave. Stella's Coffee Shop, 466 Electric Avenue. Lunenburg Exxon at 453 Mass Avenue. The Lunchbox, 180 Mass Avenue. Victory Distributors doing business as Hannaford Food and Drug at 301 Mass Avenue. Lanny Orchards at 294 Mass Avenue. Cherry Hill Ice Cream at 825 Leominster Road. Bootleggers at 50 Mass Ave. J&D Enterprises doing business as Shady Point Beach and Campground, 701 Reservoir Road. Hadwin Park Market at 1 Main Street. Presto Pizza at 429 Electric Ave. Red Pepper Incorporated doing business as Ixtapa Cantina at 308 Mass Ave. Asian Imperial Garden at 5 Electric Ave. JK Waterfront doing business as On the Rocks at 96 Lakefront Avenue. B&H Corporation doing business as Mickey Shays at 324 Electric Avenue, Unit 4. The Ugly Omelet, 165 Electric Avenue. Global Montello Group at 131 Mass Avenue. Scott Lowe doing business as Scott's Dogs at 579 Page Street. Bangkok Hill at 177 Mass Ave. Settlers Pub at 994 Northfield Road. Dunkin' Donuts at 134 Leominster Shirley Road. Honey Farms Inc. at 134 Leominster Shirley Road. And Kebab Elicious at 165 Mass Ave. And I just want to, I think I mentioned it, but some of these that have alcoholic beverages licenses, the ones that are included in this group don't have any outstanding issues with us, either with building the fire department or with any taxes or fees that are owed.
Mr. Chairman, does Board of Health weigh in on these licenses?
They do for the ones that are required, so a common vic, yes.
So-
And we, I do know we are still waiting for Board of Health sign off on some of these, but Linda has been in touch with them.
Okay.
I didn't hear Dippin' Donuts in there.
I didn't see Dippin' Donuts. No, I can ask Linda about that. I'm not sure. I don't see them on that.
I think we'll save the wonderful signing party for the end of the meeting, so we don't have to hold it up, but I will take a motion on these common vic licenses.
Motion to approve as read.
I have a second.
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
So then we have automatic amusement device licenses. Lakeview Club, 449 Club at 449 Whalum Road. American Graffiti, 113 Summer Street. Baker's Whalum Variety, 423 Electric Avenue. JK Waterfront Incorporated doing business as On the Rocks at 96 Lakefront Drive. B&H Corporation doing business as Mickey Shays, 324 Electric Avenue, Unit 4. RNDC Corp. doing business as RG Scooters at 84 Lakefront Avenue. Whalum Gas at 1 Whalum Road, Asian Video and CD Rentals, 5 Summer Street, Unit 1.
And automatic amusement devices are pinball, video games,
Games.
pool tables. I don't know if that's automatic or not.
I don't know if pool tables, I don't know what's exactly categorized, but
I move we approve these licenses.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Okay, and then the next are our Class 1, 2, and 3 motor vehicle licenses. And we have all of the applications. These are a little more complicated as well. We have a couple that we're waiting, awaiting some paperwork, but nothing significant. So I will read these in order of class. The first, Class 1, for the sale of secondhand motor vehicles is what Class 1 is. Chapter Truck Center Incorporated at 199 Massachusetts Avenue. Recreational Dimensions Incorporated, doing business as Central Mass Power Sports at 19 Mass Avenue. These are not set up the way the other ones are. They're not as easy to read. Joe Smalley Auto Sales Incorporated, doing business as Daewoo North at 30 Summer Street. Colonial Imports West Incorporated, doing business as North End Subaru at 757 Chase Road. And Colonial Imports West Incorporated, doing business as North End Mazda at 747 753 Chase Road.
Motion to approve as read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
And then the Class 2, and these are licenses to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles. Colonial Imports Incorporated at 44 Chase Road. Roland L. Trank, doing business as Roland's Towing at 408 Electric Avenue. Robert C. and Michael R. Lovewell, doing business as RC Motors at 9 Kirby Avenue. John V. Gogan, doing business as JG Service at 346 Electric Avenue. Baker Towing, 421 Electric Avenue. Peter M. Kelly, doing business as PMK Motor Sales at 36 Summer Street. Baker Enterprises Company Incorporated, doing business as the Auto Barn at 53 Chase Road. Mass Avenue Motors Incorporated, 381 Mass Ave. Affinity Incorporated, doing business as Affinity Auto Sales at 1312 Mass Ave. P&S Trucks and Parts Incorporated at 571 Chase Road. Discount Auto and Marine, doing business as Fitchburg Marine and Auto at 27 Mass Ave. Double Down Sales Incorporated, doing business as Import Domestic Auto Sales at 40 Summer Street. Custom Auto Sales and Storage, 39 Mass Ave.
Move to approve this group of licenses.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
And then the last is our Class 3, and these are motor vehicle junk licenses. 2 being requested this evening, P&S Trucks and Parts Incorporated at 571 Chase Road, and Michael R. Chapdelaine, doing business as Chapdelaine Auto Salvage at 199 Massachusetts Avenue.
Move we approve the Class 3 licenses.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
And then this is just, these are all of the applications and associated forms that go with those Class 1, 2, and 3, if anybody is interested in looking. So next week, we have maybe a handful in the categories that you saw this evening, and the alcoholic beverage licenses. Any license holder or holder of an alcoholic beverage license that owes any fees or taxes to the town for anything prior to fiscal 14, and it really would be fiscal 13 because everybody was paid last year, they have to clear up that delinquency before the board can issue the license. I have a lot of questions about delinquent taxes in fiscal 14 or sewer fees or other fees that are owed. By law, delinquencies, they're for the prior year. In the current fiscal year, something is not delinquent until the day after the due date of the fourth quarter bill. Legally, it's not delinquent. It's late. We collect interest if it's a tax bill and you haven't paid at the end of the quarter, but it's not legally delinquent, so we can't collect for that. Next week's meeting on the 17th is your last meeting for the calendar year, so it is our hope that everybody has everything cleared up by then. It is a little bit earlier because the holidays are on Tuesdays this year, so it is a little bit earlier, but we did send notices out to all of the businesses to let them know what was owed. If for some reason a business does not pay in December in time for your meeting and it's left unpaid, left unapproved and unpaid, and we get into January, that business license has expired, and that business has to go through the process of applying for the liquor license as if it were the first time that the business applied. So it will be the same as when they applied before. So that's important for people to note.
And they would not be able to operate from January 1st until such time as the license was approved.
That's correct, and we would notify the police department if we did have someone who didn't renew a liquor license. We would notify them that as of 12 a.m. on January 1st, they don't have a liquor license.
Okay, the IMA with Town of Townsend is going to be at next week's meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, I did not have a chance during the course of the last week to follow up on the questions that Selectman Bertram raised, so I will have those for next week.
Okay, so minutes. Warrants. Payroll warrant in the amount of $6,130. And accounts payable in the amount of $225,258.53. Action file issues. Anybody have any action file issues? No. Okay, committee reports. Board of Health.
No report.
Building reuse.
Yeah, the primary work was completed and presented last week, and the committee is just awaiting any further requests from the Board of Selectmen.
Capital Planning Committee.
Meets tomorrow to finish their prioritization, and we'll be ready to present to the town manager on the 18th.
Finance Committee.
Meets this Thursday. That meeting will include the town manager's 5-year forecast, at which the Board of Selectmen and I believe the school committee were invited to join that meeting.
And that will be televised here.
Correct.
Library Board of Trustees.
No report.
And Paula is out. Public Access Cable Committee.
They had, excuse me, another meeting last night to finalize some of the housekeeping motions, additional work on what open meeting law minutes and agenda items need to be. We talked some more on that, so they've identified things, how they're going to do things different going forward.
Excellent. School committee,
No report.
school building committee.
We had our final 2 public forums last Thursday. We will meet tomorrow night to prepare what the presentation will be for town meeting. Town meeting again is on Tuesday, January 7th, 7 PM, and the election is on Saturday, January 11th from 7 AM to 5 PM. Your last day to register to vote for the election is Saturday, December 21st, and the last day to register for special town meeting is Saturday, December 28th. And that's if you're not currently registered to vote. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Seems backwards. But anyway, sorry.
It's a shorter period for town
One
meeting.
estate,
Okay.
yeah. Sewer commission,
Sewer Commission is meeting at the same time as our meeting right now. Couple of things there are important to note. Highfield Village, the proposed development behind Walmart, did submit a complete proposed sewer plan to the Sewer Commission, and it is with their consultants being reviewed. They expect to have a complete report back on January 14th. It's been a long time coming to get a complete detailed plan for that part. So they can then go back to the planning board and they can finish their work there. They have submitted to the treasurer collector, excuse me, about $53,000 worth of delinquent sewer bills to be added to the tax bills. It's probably about what they're used to having them. A lot of people just add them to their tax bills. And that's it for the Sewer Commission at this point.
and Mass Broadband, no further report. Town manager reports.
I have a couple of items for signature by the chair. The MSBA project scope and budget reimbursement rate certification. I thought that you had already signed these documents, but excuse me, apparently not. So for the chair's signature, again, the reimbursement rate for the project is 59.11%.
I just want to point out, I pointed out at the planning board meeting last night, that includes 1.5% based on the 40R development at Tri-Town, which is pretty significant. So if you've got a $72 million project, give or take, 1.5% of that, that's a pretty good amount of money coming back to the town, coming off the taxpayers' burden.
Yeah, it's, what is it, like $360,000? Do I have board's approval to sign this document?
Yes.
You do.
Okay. I didn't know if we needed a vote.
Well, I think you've already voted.
Oh, okay, we just
these
didn't sign
things.
it.
You didn't sign. Then next I have the total project budget for the school project, which you've previously seen. Total project budget $72,975,321, with a maximum total facilities grant of $36,190,870.
We have voted on this already, too.
Yes.
This right here, I'm assuming.
I said that 1.5% is over $1 million.
Excuse me?
It's 1.5% of 72 million,
1.5%.
1.5, yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry. So, yeah, that would be
over $1 million.
about just about $1 million.
So,
And then it's worth more than that because we're not borrowing the $1 million over the 30-year period,
It's
so we're
interest you
saving that.
save.
Which is
That's
good.
right.
And then the last is the project scope and budget agreement for the school building project. And again, this was presented and approved, but it must not have been available for signature at the time.
Okay,
And that's it.
no other reports?
Nope.
Okay. We do have, did everyone receive this?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a resignation from the Historic Commission of Patrick Slattery, who writes to the board, please accept this letter as formal notice of my intent to resign from the Lunenburg Historical Commission effective December 20th, 2013. Over a span of 40-plus years of living in Lunenburg, I have served on a variety of town boards, commissions, committees, subcommittees, study committees, and task forces, some elected, some appointed, and I have always endeavored to bring a level of expertise and professionalism to each task. With the recent wrap-up of the Building Reuse Committee, where I was the Historical Commission representative, the time has come for me to step away from continued town service. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Historical Commission. Over the nearly 5 years of my involvement, I like to think we have raised the profile and relevancy of the Commission through projects such as the Jones House, the digitized Old Town records, the continuing series of newspaper articles, the photo survey project, and most recently, the Building Reuse Committee. Lunenburg is fortunate to have an active and involved commission, and one that I am sure will continue to be involved and focus on Lunenburg's historical assets. It has proven to be one of the most productive groups I've been affiliated with. Thanks again for the opportunity to serve. Sincerely, Patrick J. Slattery, Chairman, Lunenburg Historical Commission. So it is with regret that I will accept the resignation and acknowledge the many years, even you know, he goes back well beyond before I got involved, but even the years that I've been involved, he's been involved in many projects and committees and commissions, as he states, in town. And the projects he names here are but a few of the things that he has worked on and to the betterment of the town. So thank you to Mr. Slattery, and if we can have a letter drawn up that we can sign and send to him for all his years of service.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Toll.
obviously, after 40 years, there's plenty of people who could attest to Pat's contribution to the town, but having served as his last assignment on the Building Reuse Committee, and that was my first major assignment, I wanted to particularly thank Pat for his expertise and contribution to that group.
Thank you.
And I'll bookend the other end of having served with him on the planning board probably close to 40 years ago, and that I succeeded him when he resigned as chairman. The foresight that he has and understanding of the town, with the understanding of being a balance what we might want versus what is practical.
Excellent. So, of course, with that resignation, that gives me the opportunity to say we now have, or will have, because it doesn't take effect until the 20th. So, on the 20th, we will, after the 20th closes, we will have a vacancy on the Historical Commission. If somebody out there has an interest and expertise, a desire to learn and participate in the Historical Commission, there's a lot of history in this town, and it certainly needs protecting, and it's a wonderful commission to serve on. So please, again, fill out a talent bank form and request that you be considered for the Historical Commission. And again, thank you to Mr. Slattery. No executive session, upcoming meeting. So this, just to reiterate what was said, this Thursday at 7 p.m. in this room, we will have the Finance Committee meeting where the town manager will present her 5-year financial forecast to them. The Board of Selectmen are invited, as are other boards, school committee, I believe, too. So that will be aired. And then our last calendar year meeting will be next Tuesday, December 17th. And then our next meeting after that will be in the new year.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order on that. Normally, the first Monday of the month is first Tuesday when we'd meet. It'd be January 7th, which is actually the town meeting. So therefore, our
That's
first
correct. It'll be
so
the
our
14th.
first meeting would be the 14th, unless we schedule another
That's
one.
correct. Well, we'll probably have a short meeting, but we'll have a short meeting before a special town meeting, but certainly that will just have to do with special town meeting. And you're correct, so thank you. So January 14th is really the next meeting after next week's. With that, is there any final public comment from the board? If you would like to speak, Mr. Floyd, this is the good time.
I'm Clarence Floyd from 720 Goodrich Street. I attended several of the meetings for the new school building, and I have some questions. When I went to page 10 on project planning, it shows 36.65 million as the principal only for the town's part of this. My question is, what's the interest going to cost us for a 30-year term? And what's the interest going to cost us for a 20-year term? Because that would be the true total cost.
It would.
It would be the real total cost. And from what I understand, but I may be wrong, if I understand it correctly, the state will not help us with any of the interest. If they will, that's great.
No, that is correct. They will not help with interest.
So from the brochure, the readers have the feeling that this is what it's going to cost them. This is not what it's going to cost them. So I think they need to know what it's going to cost them. So the interest added to the 36.65, or I heard tonight 36.1 million, is the true total cost.
She's looking at it right now.
Okay.
And actually, while we're looking, that was brought up last night, and it's something we should probably have a slide for town meeting when we present.
Now,
We have discussed it in the past. We've discussed those numbers in the past, but we need to update. So yeah, the 36 million is the principal, and we need to add the interest for total cost.
people reading page 10 of the handout, they're not going to know that unless they read it someplace else, or unless
We'll
they are
discuss it.
able to go online, which a lot of people are not. But to continue, as I went down the same page, page 10, I got to the estimated annual impact to the households. Now, if the interest is not included
It's
The
included in that
interest is
number.
included there.
in that one,
It is in that
okay,
number, yes.
I'm all right on that one then. This is kind of off the wall, but some of the people do call me and ask me questions because they're older folks and they think that I've already researched it for them. But they've asked me how many administrators and support staff would be added. I've told them, to my knowledge, there will be none. I think there's a technology person going to be added this year, but that's a separate issue. So-
That's what the superintendent said, yes.
Right.
Yes.
It is the intention that, and this is the way they're planning their budget, that the building will not affect, the operating cost will be it's neutral as far as the building.
Great.
That the operating cost of the budget of running the school will not change whether the building is going forward or not. It will remain
Excellent.
the same.
Another question they've asked me is, how long after we float the bonds will the state begin to give us monies towards this project?
I'm sorry.
They make payments immediately.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we only have to bond for our portion of it. We don't have to bond for the state's portion of it. The state
Right.
pays that.
The reason they asked me this question
Sure,
was,
sure. Well, it's a major difference because when the primary school, the program under which the primary school was built, we put it forward and the state reimbursed us over time.
Okay.
In this case, since they revamped the whole program, the state pays their portion as you go, as it's built. So we don't float the state's money at all.
Okay, because I had told the people, I thought that, see, they were concerned with, like, if it took 6 months, I told them they're not going to pay the interest anyway, so who cares, you know, it doesn't make, but they wanted me to ask the question,
Sure.
so I did. Another question that they asked me was, what criteria will the selectmen and the treasurer use to select the term?
Well, we had that vote actually last week, and we looked at the total cost, we looked at the immediate impact on the taxpayers, we looked at, and ultimately we decided to borrow over 30 years, which adds more cost in total.
Right.
But it alleviates cost immediately to the taxpayers. It lowers their impact right now. It spreads it over a longer term, spreads it over longer end users of the building,
So we're
it's-
doing 30 years?
We're doing 30 years.
Okay.
And again, we had a pretty good discussion about that. We got input from the community. I don't know what the final numbers were. You know, we had the poll on the website. People could tell us what they thought we should do.
Right.
We had a good discussion about it. You know, my initial thought was do it for the 20, minimize the cost. You know, it's the most it's fiscally conservative way to do it, but
Right.
it's also the most painful way to do it. And the way to be fair, again, because this is a 50-year building, you know, and if we're going to have kids going in here that, going to that building that haven't even moved to town yet or been born,
Right.
we're trying to bear that cost across everybody who's going to use it as much as we can.
I'll pass that on to them. Now,
We have the town manager has the number for the interest, if you would like.
okay, so we're doing 30 years now, that's all I need to know, is it?
Okay, so the interest cost over 30 years is about $32 million.
32 million. So I add 32 million to basically the 36.1 you mentioned tonight. That's going to be the town's total cost.
Yes.
And it is, like we had mentioned before, included in the annual impact for like a $200,000
Correct.
property?
Yes.
Okay. Because they were saying, well, if it's not included, we got to redo this.
Right.
Now, when I read the question 1 tonight, there are people around it that are around town that are going to read it the same way I did. It's a little confusing. And when I first looked at it, I said, wait a minute. Some people are maybe going to interpret this as being a Proposition 2.5 override. It's not going to be it's going to be a debt exclusion, right?
Right, it's under an umbrella law called, as it says, so-called Prop 2.5.
Well,
So there are general overrides, this is not. This is a debt exclusion that only impacts the tax bill until the bond is paid off. It is not permanent.
okay. Now, when I read this, I thought I would say, like, shall the town of Lunenburg be allowed to exempt as a debt exclusion from the provision of Proposition 2.5? That way, it would be clear to the people that it is a debt exclusion. It's not a Proposition 2.5 thing, because there are people around town. You mentioned Proposition 2.5, they're going to vote no automatically. You know that. From the last time around, it was 2-1 that the thing was defeated. So, I don't know, maybe if it could be better explained that it is a debt exclusion. Because some of the folks in town, they don't understand some of the terminology that you would use as a capital person, or that someone else would use in a law office or whatever. It has to be clear to them that it is a debt exclusion. Otherwise, if they get confused and they're thinking that they would vote in a positive fashion for this building, and they start to think it's a 2.5 override, they'll vote against it. Then they'll find out later they did the wrong thing. So that's basically all I had, but
You know, we wrote these articles and the ballot question as we discussed, and we discussed last week as well. I mean, this is specific language from the state, from the MSBA, as to what we have to do. You know, as far as the town meeting article, you know, we had discussion. We wanted to have more numbers and figures and all in there, because the way I look at it is people like to know the number they're voting immediately. Now, town meeting, we're going to have a discussion, and we're going to designate the specific dollar amount, and it's going to be outlined that this is a debt exclusion, life of the note, and that's it. The ballot question, again, the state sets the wording on that, and we tried to see what we could do to adjust it to be more
specific.
more specific. They set the language. We're kind of stuck with their words. I mean, the bottom line is, if we're borrowing against the building, by law, that is only tied to that building. That is a debt exclusion. It is not an operating override. So, you know, however you can explain that to folks.
Maybe
Appreciate
Dave
it.
Grossman will give me a few lines in his newspaper, and I can get him to
I bet he would.
put a
That's
couple of sentences in there for me, explaining to these people that this is the way it's going to be. It's not a 2.5 override. Don't get confused. It's a debt exclusion. and
Yeah.
we can go from
That
there.
would be helpful.
That'd be
Yes.
your helpful.
Right.
Maybe you could go have a cup of coffee with him and have that English language conversation.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Okay, I think that's all I had.
Mr.
Thank you
Floyd,
very
can I ask you, are you, based on what you've seen, what you saw at the forums, I mean, are you supporting the project?
Well, I did talk to some of the folks on the committee, and it's kind of like we had discussed, when you have an old car and your mechanic tells you it's time to give it up and take that money and put it on the payments towards a new one.
Yep.
That's where I'm leaning right now. I think I'd rather spend my money on something worthwhile than trying to resurrect something that, if you spend $1,300 on it and it's only worth $400, you've just wasted your money, as I
Yeah.
can see, you know.
No, I think that's very well put.
And can I ask you one question? Was the forum you went to, I assume it was last Thursday? Did you-
Right.
Was it,
He's been to a couple.
oh, he's been,
Been to several, and
were they helpful? Did you find them informative, and were people responsive to your questions then?
yeah, they did seem to be, and plus the handout and some of the larger pictures they had of where the new building was going to go versus where the old one is now, and the future fields that are going to be put in. That kind of helped me understand, you know, which direction the building's actually pointed in. So it was helpful.
Good, good.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Good night, everyone, and hope to
Night,
see
everyone.
you on Thursday evening at the Finance Committee meeting.